Welcome to Leveled Up Conversations, where we take conversations to the next level. I'm your host, Shane Simmons, and on today's show I have Matt Ridge here. Matt, what's the topic we're going over today?
Today we're talking about why aren't there any great superhero games, part 2.
It's a great topic. We've done it before, we'll do it again. This is part 2 of 3. Thanks for tuning in. Matt, a little bit about yourself. You know the drill, 30 seconds or less, ready, go.
Alright, my name is Matt. I currently in school to become a computer science major so I can make video games of my own one day. Born in Chicago, moved to Arizona, moved to California, that's where I currently live. Work part-time at Apple.
10 more seconds, Matt. Why are we having you on the show?
You're having me on this show because of my vast comic book knowledge.
And that beautiful smile. Thanks, Matt. What games are you playing right now? Let the people know at home. What's good?
So currently, unfortunately, I'm not playing anything recently, but I did finish Arkham Origins a couple months ago, and it was amazing. Waiting to breach into the next-gen systems. So, what games are you playing?
Thanks, Matt, for throwing it back to me. I appreciate it. First guy to ever ask me questions. Not really, but I just feel lonely sometimes. I've been playing a lot of games. I just got into the Hearthstone beta. I've been playing kind of the Pokemon games in sequential order. Just finished Emerald, about to move on to Diamond or Platinum. Excited about that. Should be fun. And Killzone Shadowfall.
Nice.
So, yeah. All right, Matt, topic at hand. Why are there no great superhero games? For those of you guys at home, though, if you haven't seen part 1, you should probably go back and check it out. Give you time to do that now. All right, if you're still here, you probably already watched episode 1. I appreciate it. So, Matt, why are there no great superhero games, excluding the Arkham series, because that series is phenomenal?
Yeah, I would say there's no great superhero games because you have 2 obstacles. 1, mass appeal, and 2, how do you make a game about a superhero but still make it fun to play?
There we go. Let's start with the first one, mass appeal. I feel like that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen that wonderful Deadpool movie that we all want, because it has to be rated R, and it's not going to allow a lot of the audience to come in and see it.
Right, and when you're talking in the video game world, why would you want to go pick up a game of a character you don't really know if you're not into comic books? But that then shows that we're limiting the game to strictly origin stories, which we talked about in the first episode. No one wants to play. If I've read the comic book and I know Batman's history for years on end, why would I want to play another game where I'm going to be learning about him again?
I know his family dies, and stop telling me about it.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
So I think that is a huge one. I also think in the video game industry, the guys that are out there making the games may not necessarily be in love with these characters. So when they go into making a game, they read as quickly as they can a small cross-section of what went on in this person's life, and they try to make it from a certain perspective, which as a fan of that hero, you go in and play, and it might not be your perspective on the character. So it's you have to stay general enough to make it fun for everyone, but fun enough to get a good storyline going.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like one of the reasons why the Avengers movies and the Marvel Universe has been so good is you get someone at the very top that's very passionate about it and won't accept anything other than being true to these characters.
Yeah, Marvel did a great thing by creating their own movie studio so that they get to have hands-on control of all of these events, and so the storylines don't go so wildly out of control, and you're not at the end of the day going, did they even read one of these comic books before they made this movie? Much like we've seen in the past with other movies.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, definitely a great topic for the first part. Let's go to the second part now.
Yeah, second part, we were talking about making a superhero game where you still feel like a superhero, but it's not boring. Mm-hmm. So, Batman, great game. He's a regular human being. He doesn't have invulnerability, so you get into fights. When you first start playing, it's scary because you can lose these fights pretty easily. As you get better, you start taking on more and more guys, and then you get to a point where you're so good, but you look at it and you look at a group of 30 guys and you're on max difficulty. You're thinking to yourself, is it really worthwhile to go through with this fight?
Yeah,
or should I just skip it?
I'm gonna win. It's gonna be really difficult. It's gonna take some time. But I'm Batman, so I'm going to be able to take him down. but there's no reason for it. I'm supposed to go do this.
Right.
I'm going to go do this because I'm Batman.
Yeah, other thing that makes it great is the fighting controls are so fluid, and once you get the rhythm of it, you get into these fights and you kind of lose yourself in it, and you just take these fights on. Most superhero games, Superman 64 is one that hits me off the top of my head. The flying controls were so hard to master that you end up not wanting to fly anywhere because all you do is crash into buildings and die, and you haven't even gotten to fight a single boss.
Yeah. I feel like we're seeing a lot of superhero games on the rise right now. Not so much on the console, more towards the PC games. We have DCUO is now on PS4, and it was on PS3 before, so I guess that's on the console. The MMO for DC, the Marvel Universe, Marvel Heroes, that MMO, and also DC is making a MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena, which is based around the Infinite Crisis.
Sure.
And you kind of run into the same thing with gameplay. Yeah, MOBAs have to be very strict and precise when it comes to gameplay because they're very competitive games. But I'm playing Shazam, and I don't feel like Shazam because it's a MOBA, and if I was Shazam, I would just win every time. Or if I was Superman, or if I was Batman. It's really difficult to make them true to these characters and also have it be a good game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about characters, Captain Marvel and Superman and all these guys, it is hard.
I knew you wouldn't let me get away with just calling him Shazam.
Right. His name's Captain Marvel.
I appreciate
Shazam's what makes him into Captain Marvel. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's difficult because they're invulnerable. They're super strong. Like, they're super fast. What do you do to weaken those guys? And I think that falls to the guys writing the gameplay. And if there is someone at the top, like we said before, who's very passionate and wants to write these storylines that make these characters figure out a way. We talked about doing a Superman game, but put him on a planet where he's under a red sun, so he's closer to human again, and so you understand why he's taking on weaknesses, or why when people hit him he gets weaker and things like that.
Or you could do like the Arkham City mindset, where at the beginning it's kind of like a cheap way to get around it, but like he gets poisoned or infected or something to where he's slowly losing his powers over time. And then you have the super cheap way of doing it, where it's an origin story and he's not that great because he doesn't know how to use his powers right now.
And to be honest, when you jump into a superhero game, I don't want to do the origin story. I don't want to learn how to use my powers because I know who this person is and I know what all his powers are going to be. Not a superhero game, but I thought a really fun way of doing it was Prototype, the first game.
Well, Prototype's... You
can
consider it like Infamous is a superhero game, but it's not based off a actual superhero they created in the game. And I'm glad that you brought that up.
But I love the idea of let's give you all your powers right at the very beginning of the game, and so you can see how badass you can be, and then let's take them all away and let you start over. I thought that was a great way to do it.
The Metroid mindset.
Metroid, the Mega Man X. I was trying to think of
Zelda. No, well, Zelda, you know all of this stuff.
You've seen him get to that level before, and then every game you start over. Yeah, that's an interesting standpoint to leave you with powers, and so I think that is a true part of making a great superhero game.
Okay. Well, you brought up some great topics. We see a lot of superhero movie tie-ins, and I feel like the best superhero games are never going to be movie tie-ins.
It'll never happen.
Yeah, the Stick of Truth, the South Park game, South Park Stick of Truth, they're doing something very incredible that I respect a lot. The people that make South Park found a game studio in Obsidian, and they are actually handing like the art style and the story. They're writing the story for it and making sure the art looks exactly like you're just watching an episode of South Park, handing it back to Obsidian, and they're adding in the game aspect of it. I would absolutely love to see a superhero game made that way.
Yeah, me too. I think it would be incredible because when we see interaction between the studio, the company, Marvel, DC, and the game studios, we get really good elements. Just like Marvel and having their own movie studio, the Iron Man and Thor and Captain America all have been not the best films, but have all been really good and all really true to the character, and so it leads up to Avengers where it's really good, and there's so much hype and anticipation for the next ones that we're seeing it with it got revitalized with Batman Begins, and Christopher Nolan going back and having a love of the books, but Christopher Nolan taking the time to really read the backstory of the character and build in where it wasn't Joker that killed his parents, it was a random thug named Joe Chill, which most people wouldn't know, but Christopher Nolan made it a part of the movie, which for a fan of Batman that I am, was a huge deal to me. That cemented me that every movie he put out I was going to go see, and when they said he was going to do a trilogy, it broke my heart. I wanted to see 9 of them.
Yeah, you know? I wanted to see them never stop. And I know this isn't a big example, but I was a super big Spider-Man fan as a kid.
Yeah.
And when they revitalized the Spider-Man movies recently, and he actually made a gadget and was very intelligent.
Web shooters were the biggest addition of the new set of movies.
Yeah, like they're doing some things wrong, but they did that absolutely right. And I feel like when he was like, "Oh yeah, I just have the superpower where I shoot web," and I was like, "Okay, no, that's stupid. Like this is how it's supposed to work. I want to see him swinging around at the perfect moment, run out of web, and then be like, I have to figure out what I got to do."
Yeah, it also just shows you the one thing that they never got across in the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. They always showed you Peter was super smart, but they never gave you an example of how he was super smart.
They never really applied it.
I like that the new Amazing Spider-Man, they went back and they show you him surrounded with science books. And as he's turning into Spider-Man, he's not out just running across buildings and going, "Oh, I'm super strong and I can do all these things." He's sitting down trying to figure out the science of how he became Spider-Man, because that's the important part to him.
Yeah.
And again, I like that Sony went back and they looked at the Ultimate Universe of Marvel, and they got a lot of their inspiration through that, which the Ultimate Universe was designed to be made into movies. That's why I think Marvel fell heavily back on it with their run of the Avengers.
Yeah.
So I like that they're doing that with Spider-Man too. But yeah, that was a big push for me to go see the new Spider-Man the second I saw that they actually had web shooters.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we need developers that are going to stay true to these characters. It would be amazing if the people that are writing comic books started writing the games.
Yeah.
Gameplay is going to be a big obstacle to try and overcome. How do you make Superman playable? I feel like the Incredible Hulk games did that really well. I would like to see another team superhero game like we got from X-Men Legends or the
Ultimate
Alliance, which were the best superhero games before Arkham came out, in my opinion at least. And what was really cool is there is no origin story. You get the origin story from S.H.I.E.L.D. documents throughout the game, or just little
hidden Easter eggs.
Yeah, little hidden Easter eggs that tell you more about these characters. They don't bug us with that. They let us play this wonderful story arc.
Right, and my favorite thing about that is first time you play through any of the Legends or the Ultimate Alliance, you play the game, and you pick up each one of those little documents and you read it. You get all that insight and fun stuff. Next time you go back to replay it, you've already picked them all up. You've already read them, so why waste your time? You're just moving through the game at that point.
Yeah.
And that adds replay value to that game, because now I'm not going to be bogged down with tutorials and things like that. I can just move through it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think something Arkham did well. I've played those games multiple times. The first one I collected every single Riddle trophy, and then I've gone back and just burned through the game and not even worried about the trophies or finding everything. And both times were just as fun.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. I actually did the exact opposite way. I go through the game and then I play it again to get everything.
Yeah.
So we're going to end it with the same question we ended the previous episode with. Matt, what do you feel like could be the next great superhero game? If you combine, has to have a great story, the gameplay's got to be able to work with, controller or mouse and keyboard. What do you feel like it could be?
So next great superhero game for me would be New 52 Aquaman.
He tells me every time you say that.
He's a great character. The New 52, they've revamped him. Mm-hmm. He's a badass now. He carries a trident. He's strong, so you get the fun element of being a superhero, but he's not
overpowered.
He's not Superman tiered. You could get some crossed environmental things. You have him on land, you have him in the ocean. You can play around with his telepathy. I think it would be just a fun set of games. What would you pick?
Thanks, Matt, for throwing it back to me. If we're staying on the DC topic, I would really like to see a Cyborg game. I feel like that could play a lot like a Metroid could. where, you know, it's like a third-person type shooter. You could even throw, you know, like dungeons. You go into this place, you beat the boss, you absorb some alien technology from them, which adds this another weapon, or so on and so forth to you, and you continue through the game with that weapon. Now, I feel like that would be really good.
Yeah, it'd be a cool throwback, like a Mega Man element would be cool throwing.
But honestly, it's going to be super difficult, but I want to see a giant superhero game again, like what we saw from Marvel Legends, or from Ultimate Alliance, where it's not an MMO like we have now with all these different superhero games, but a couch co-op RPG style where you could swap in and out with superheroes, kind of like what we get from the Lego Marvel, but not made for 3-year-olds. That would be my favorite superhero game that they can make.
Yeah, I would like to see a move away from... Not that I don't think the Lego games are great. Those are awesome.
They're great in their own way.
Yeah, I have a nephew, and it's awesome that he can get introduced to all this stuff in a way that is there for him. But I want to see
this 4-year-old knows who Moon Knight is. That's awesome. Yeah.
I want to see, but I want to see an adult version too, because when you start talking about Moon Knight and Daredevil and things like that, I want it to get dark and I want it to get gritty, and I want there to be a game that that's of a level that lets you get there.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Well, thank you guys for watching. You can follow us on Twitter at LeveledUpCombos. Be sure and subscribe to this video, leave comments down below, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.